And welcome to another episode of the Trucking Risk and Insurance Podcast. This week, we are delving deep, and I do mean deep, into the reefer logistics world, where we have Colby Varley from Advanced Transportation Services. And he's talking about a freight recession and how to navigate it. Colby's expertise is unparalleled, and he is discussing the ins and outs of reefer transportation. And around minute 22 or so, he discusses what the hell he does when the invariable screw up, as it does always in trucking, the screw up happens. So stay with us. Colby is next.
Welcome to the Trucking Risk and Insurance Podcast.
Hey, Colby, welcome to the podcast. Can you take a second and introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers?
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning. Thanks for having me on. My name is Colby, last name Varley. I work for Advanced Transportation Services, the one out of Visalia, California, not to be confused with the one out of Minnesota or the one out of Canada. This year will be our 40th year in business in October.
Wow.
We specialize in highly perishable food and produce transportation all over the U.S.
Go figure. Out of California, you specialize in reefers.
Yes, sir.
As if you might need a reefer in California.
Yeah, we love quite a few.
Hey, one of the topics that I really wanted to address, and I think you are the right person to ask. I think we're in a freight recession at the moment, even though there's not much talk of it in the newspapers and stuff. However, I believe we're in a freight recession. How do we get top dollar to move, especially refrigerated stuff? It's so damn volatile, and you're open to so many claims different ways. How do we get top buck to move that load of strawberries?
Yeah, so that's a great question. You know, how are you going to be able to get the top dollar in the freight that you're hauling? I think you need to be a specialist in what you're doing. There's a lot of guys out there that do a little bit of everything. I'm not saying that that's wrong or incorrect. There's no right or wrong way. From my experience, being a specialist has helped get that top dollar in freight. For whatever freight you're hauling, we deal with people that are in, say, the heavy haul industry that specialize in moving a different part of the refrigerated world. They transfer, like the tubes and all the heavy equipment that it takes to run on the back end. And that's all they do. And they're the specialists at that. We don't compete in that market. But I think ultimately to get top dollar in this kind of market, you have to be a specialist in the market that you're going after.
Well, and I was going to say that gets tough because when you have a volatile market like we do right now, a lot of people will try to dabble. They'll hear their buddy goes, "Oh, my buddy's in reefer. I got to do drive-ins. Let's just buy 2 reefers and see if we can do better." And, they're not specialists by any means.
Yeah. And I think ultimately doing that, it hurts the industry even more because you're getting people that are going into an area that they're not familiar with. They don't know how to quote it. They don't know how to operate in it. They don't know what the costs are to be profitable in it. And that's just dragging down everybody else in the industry that, knows what it takes in that specific market.
Well, and the other part of what you just said is, have they even trained their drivers? Because reefer is a whole different ballgame than dry van freight.
Yeah. Reefer it's in a league all by itself.
I was gonna say, go ahead and swear. It's okay.
Yeah. It's good when it's good, and sometimes it's really bad when it's bad. But knowing what to do and how to do it really makes the difference, like you said. And we really try and help coach, monitor everything going on in the shipment, from the driver to the dispatch to the customer, to make it as flawless as possible. And I know we kind of mentioned AI prior to jumping on, and the technology now has really brought the reefer freight to a whole new level. You can see what the reefer setting is in transit. The recorders now are operating off 5G self service to monitor the temperature. Just things that are in the industry that have really helped, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It, Colby, I didn't tell you, but John and I both have an insurance background. And part of that background here in Southern Ontario in Canada, not to be mixed up with Ontario, California, we have the Ontario Producer. What's that called, John? We're on the Queensway there in Toronto.
Yeah. The food terminal, we call it, is the nickname of it. Yes. But yeah.
The food terminal. And when I was in the insurance business 10 years ago, they were notorious for rejecting loads for being off temperature. Has the technology, you mentioned trackers and things like that, has that helped your company in fighting these rejected loads?
Absolutely. The technology's helped immensely, and not so much in fighting, but preventing. These devices now are allowing you to get in front of it. Probably 10 years ago, when you guys were doing insurance on the produce market or terminal market, they'd show you a Ryan recorder, which was a printout that the only good it did was, okay, this truck ran hot. Well, that's great. Now we have a hot load. Like, what problem did that really solve?
Right.
In regards to now, with these recorders being hooked up to 5G, you set the parameters. As soon as that temperature inside the box gets out of the range, you're getting an email, text message, saying, "Hey, this shipment's out of range." And we have a staff that's their job. They're monitoring that account 24/7 to get on the carrier, get on the driver. Hey, we need a picture of the reefer setting. Is everything okay? Is it in the right operating mode? I mean, things happen. Unfortunately, sometimes the units aren't set correctly, but these devices allow us to prevent those type of claims rather than fighting it or dealing with it upon arrival.
Sure. Well, it gives you the ability to act in real time rather than, maybe if the driver stopped 4 hours, 5 hours later and had a look and went, "Oh God, no, 4 hours, the temperature is all wrong. I got to call dispatch to let them know." Well, 4 hours has already gone by and maybe the load has been spoiled. Whereas this, I get to go before he pulls out of the dock. We know what the temperature is. So that's pretty cool with that technology.
Yeah, that's definitely helped immensely.
And sorry, I just somehow this just popped into my mind. I was working many years ago for a reefer carrier here in Canada, and of course we use Celsius predominantly, but not in reefers. In reefers, it's all Fahrenheit. Don't we
Right.
pick up a reefer trailer, load it with meat, and not realize that the reefer temperature is set to Celsius? And set it to 32 degrees Celsius, which is what, John?
Oh,
70 some odd degrees Fahrenheit.
yeah. Yep. 80 some odd degrees. Yep.
80,
Doesn't take long.
So we're transporting a load of meat at a very warm temperature.
If it was steak, it'll be medium rare when it arrives.
Yeah, no, that's a nightmare.
Well, how do you go about at ATS avoiding mistakes like that? And I can't blame the driver in that case because, it was a brand new, he went and picked it up from the sales place. It was a brand new trailer, and for some reason they put it in Celsius, and I don't know of any trucking company in the world, but that doesn't matter. How do you monitor, especially the driver's performance, to make sure they set the right temperature on the reefer maybe we can get into driver reefer training. Again, I had a load of ice cream when I was in the insurance business, delivered at 45 degrees Celsius
Mm.
because the driver didn't hit the confirm button when he changed the temperature. He changed it, but the technology was there, says he never hit confirm. How do you go about preventing that type of crap?
Well, I think that we have a pretty strong, I like to call it like hand to mouth with the driver, in regards to, we don't just send it to a carrier and hope they do their best. We get the driver's number, we get the driver on the phone, we make sure that we've done everything in our power to communicate that. And then I feel now as we've evolved in technology and SOPs, a lot of the coolers are verifying that this trailer is operating correctly before they even load it. When it gets backed into the dock, they're in there, they're inspecting it, number one, for cleanliness and making sure ain't no cracks or holes or anything that could affect the cargo. And then, 9 times out of 10 from what we see is, they're in there with some sort of temperature monitoring device to see, hey, what's the trailer temp right now? Is it blowing out cold air? So those are some good ways that, we have some checks in place. And then there's some customers that we require that the driver sends a picture of the bill of lading and a picture of the reefer setting prior to departure. And just, with the use of technology and cell phones, I mean, every driver has pretty much a camera phone on them nowadays. I mean, there are exceptions to the rule that you get somebody that says, hey, my driver's got a flip phone, he doesn't text and whatnot. So, I mean, they're still out there, but that's, the 1%ers probably. So yeah, that's just a great way to make sure, you get a picture showing the reefer setting. I know whether it's on continuous or if it's on cycle sentry just from looking at the picture. So I can adjust that right away. Hey, you have it set on cycle. We need it on continuous mode. And even down to the set point, hey, this customer requires 32 degrees. You have it set on 33 degrees. That's not right. You need to set it to 32. So those are some of probably the best practices that we use to ensure that, these units are set properly.
And again, going back to my original question, what I'm hearing from you, with all the SOPs, standard operating procedure, in case somebody didn't know, that's how you get premium dollar. Going back to that question, if you can train your drivers correctly and monitor their performance and the performance of the equipment, now you can ask for premium dollars. That sounds like I know something about reefers, and I don't own the truck. So I'm damn good at safety, but So Colby, would that be right though?
That's definitely part of it. You need to have that to get that premium dollar. And it's also just being from on the brokerage side, we deal with an array of carriers, and it goes for what we're paying. There's carriers that, they're sending updates 3-4 times a day. Hey, here's the location, here's the temperature, this is the set point. And that just makes our job so much easier. And then there's carriers that you're chasing them around at 7-8 o'clock at night. And it's like, hey man, we went over all this. These are the expectations and you're not meeting them. And I think sometimes people don't really know what else is out there. They think, hey, this is how it's how it goes. I don't really need to do all this. And, there's people out there doing it and they're really doing a great job at it. And it shows, you could pay them a little extra because, you're going to have less touches on that load,
Mm.
knowing that they're going to be providing you 3-4 updates a day. And we're not even asking for that. That's
Right.
just the service level that they're providing us.
Well, and that's got to be peace of mind for not only your operation, but also to be able to convey that back to your client, who's putting a lot of trust in you guys to find the right carrier to transport that load to its end delivery point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also going back to the original question of how can you, get that extra dollar? Every problem is an opportunity to gain more trust from your customer on how to, get extra dollars. If there's a claim, a problem arrival, a late truck, how you handle that, good,
Mhm.
bad, or different, whatever the situation is. I mean, you guys know if you're in the insurance business, like bad things are going to happen,
Mhm.
but how you handle that is the separator.
Right. Yeah.
That's just things are going to go wrong, and how it's handled and how it's presented is how you're going to get more profit on, in a bad market.
And one of the thoughts I had as you were speaking, as a broker, what
Mhm.
vetting or what checks do you do on a trucking company before you reach out and give them a load?
Yeah, great question. So obviously for us, we've been in the business it's going to be coming up on 40 years. And also with that 40 years, we've specialized in that highly perishable food and produce. And luckily for us, we are in California. So from Bakersfield on 5 and 99 all the way to Yuba City, California, it's just there's a plethora of refrigerated carriers. So that makes it really easy to get boots on the ground to go see these guys and see the operation and break bread with them, have dinner, have lunch, know these, people as your vendor. That's really how we've kind of excelled. I think we know who's hauling our freight. It could be a 300 truck carrier. I have the cell phone number of the owner. Something's not being handled correctly, or hey, we need to do better on this. We have the direct line to the guy. He
Mhm.
knows who we are. We know who he is, and it's vice versa. If something's going on and he feels or they feel unhappy with how something's getting handled, they have our direct cell phone number.
Right.
So it's a two-way street. It's a two-way partnership. But getting your feet on the ground at your carriers there's no better way to vet and get an understanding of what kind of carrier you're dealing with. You start doing it long enough, you see enough trucking companies, you're going to know which ones are legit and which ones are not.
Mhm. Well, you're building that relationship, and that goes a long way to go back to what you'd mentioned a little bit earlier, like even when dealing with a claim or a situation that happens, how you handle that.
Right.
That relationship can help in how you handle that, because if you have a better, tighter relationship, better chance you'll work at it as a team and they'll be upfront and forward with you very quickly. Without that relationship, I think I find more people kind of, let's not say anything to anybody. Let's try to fix this ourselves so it doesn't look bad. Whereas you're just really ruining the relationship right off.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's all about the relationship. I would imagine it's the same for any other specialty type trucking in produce or highly perishable food and produce. The it's the golden key, in my opinion,
Mhm.
is you have to have those kind of relationships on both sides. On both
Yeah,
sides.
I mean, every receiver has heard the excuse, oh, my truck had a flat tire. Damn, there ain't that many flat tires in the world, you know?
Right.
But that's what a relationship can do is you can be truthful and say, hey, we screwed up 1 out of 100 loads. We
Yep.
dropped the ball. And this is
Yeah.
what we're doing to fix it and get it back on track for you.
Yeah, and technology's helped in that sense, right? With, cell phones, the amount of blowout pictures that I have on my phone is just ridiculous. It does happen.
Yep.
It does happen. There's a lot of things that come with a blowout when they get real nasty. They can tear up a lot of components on the truck and the trailer. So having the ability to get a picture and send that off as soon as it happens is just, I mean, yeah, it's a bad situation, but look how you handled it.
Mhm.
You gave the customer a physical piece of evidence like, wow, that's really bad. Glad the driver's okay. I'm
Mhm.
glad
Mhm.
the load's okay.
Mhm.
We're going to be a few hours late and we can pass that on to our customer. So that's really helpful.
And part of what I'm hearing too from you about the premium dollar one is communication. You've got to communicate and be open to communication a lot with your customer.
Yeah, if you're not a good communicator, you're not going to get it. And being able to communicate bad things, everybody can communicate the good things,
Yeah.
but being able to communicate the bad things and relaying that message in a way that's eloquent and they understand, and sometimes they don't, and you're going to hear about it, and it's nothing personal. You got to take your licks and just tell them, hey, here's a solution. Here's what we're going to do to prevent it next time. And, going forward, it's not going to happen again. And make sure that it doesn't.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes equipment breaks down. That's, you know, and the equipment, I'm also including drivers. I mean, drivers get sick.
Mhm.
The flu happens. God bless the truck drivers when they do get sick and they're stranded somewhere. But it's all in how you handle those situations and
Yep.
I believe the communication, especially in those events, is critical.
Yeah. Just tell the truth,
Yeah.
be transparent. And, there's a customer that we deal with, and one of his main lines is the speed of trust.
Mhm.
And we've really kind of adopted that, being able to, hey, just get it done and we'll make sure that everybody gets taken care of on the back end. The customer is more important at this point. Making it right is more important. And 100% of the time you do that, it all works out.
Um, because I think everybody understands there's nobody in this world that's perfect.
Mhm.
Mistakes happen. We're human beings still, thank God. And we screw up from time to time. That's the bottom line. As you
Yep.
That's
said,
life.
yeah, it's how you react to the screw
Yeah.
ups
Right.
that determine who the real players are in the industry.
Yeah. Like you said, things do happen. We are human, acknowledging it. I'll, one of the lines I like to use is, hey, if I mess something up or we mess something up, we're going to be the first company to raise our hand and admit we made a mistake. And when you're vulnerable like that to a customer, it really goes a long way. And what did you learn from it? And what are you going to do to prevent it? That's the
Mhm.
biggest thing that, we really take to heart is things are going to happen, especially, we transitioned to a new TMS 2 years ago. There's so
Oh,
much that goes into that,
Mhm.
and,
Mhm.
things happen, and, sometimes there's some unforeseen speed bumps that, hey, this didn't get added or whatnot. And, working through that and, talking to the customer about it, just get it fixed, come to
Mhm.
them with a plan. Hey, here's a plan of action. This is what we're going to do about it and make sure it gets done.
well, I just heard you say admit to it. And this is something
Mhm.
currently in our society, too many people are quick to say, not my fault, and try
Mhm.
to blame
Mhm.
somebody else all the time. Where,
Yeah.
damn it, it is your fault. Just
Yep.
admit it and we can move
Yep.
on. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. And especially if you're the leader of that organization or the person in charge, yes, you may have not made that mistake yourself. But for example, I have a team of people, and if something goes sideways, the customer is not worried about who's the individual that made the mistake. They're looking for the person that's in charge or in leadership, managing everything to say, hey, you know what? We made a mistake and here's what we're going to do to take care of it and fix it from happening going forward. So to your point, yeah, I didn't do it or it's not my fault. That just,
Mhm.
it's, that's driving you to get less dollars.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even
Exactly.
sometimes when it isn't your fault, you don't have to say it's
Absolutely.
not my fault. The
Yeah.
customer, all they want to hear is the solution,
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So
Yeah. I think, if there is an issue, the worst thing you can do is say, hey, here's the problem
Yeah.
and not say anything else.
Mm.
You got to come to them with the problem and the solution at the same time. If you're not doing that, you're not providing a value.
and if you're not providing a value, you won't get paid as much.
Yeah,
as-
you're gonna get paid. You're gonna get paid for what kind of value you bring.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so if you want to up your rate, provide more value.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So with that said, we've talked about a lot of good things that a carrier needs to have in place, to work in this environment and whatnot. For somebody that's maybe getting into, maybe wanting to not dabble, but actually get into the refrigerated end of transport, what would you tell them? Whether they be a new carrier or an existing carrier that's looking to get into this and it's new for them, and say they wanted to work with an ATS or something like that. What would you be telling them in order for them to become one of your good carriers down the road?
Yeah. So something that I would recommend to anyone new looking to get into it is you got to align yourself with people that have a solid foundation and some sort of industry name that know what they're doing, and go align yourselves with them somehow, do some sort of partnership, work together, figure out how, you can kind of align yourself with somebody that's an expert in the field that you're looking to get into. And that really goes for anything in life, right? Or anything in business. Like if you're trying to do something, go align yourself with somebody that's doing it, that's an expert at it, learn the best practices, and, obviously be transparent up front with what your intentions are. Um, and, I think basically learning under somebody else's, leadership and guidance is probably the fastest, most effective, efficient way to, kind of get in the game and not get just completely slaughtered.
Right.
And like so many good things in life, find a mentor that
Yeah.
will walk you down, whether it's in trucking or just anything in human relations.
Yeah.
Learn from the others that did it before you, that did it really well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and get them on your side. Like that's a great way to wrap this up. Find a mentor, maybe Colby.
Yeah.
Well, Colby, I mean, I don't think you've been in the business for 40 years, but ATS has been in the business nearly 40 years. That's a lot of experience.
Yeah.
How long have you been in the business?
Since 2010. So I'm coming up on, it'll be 15 years at the end of this year.
Cool.
And I had the opportunity to learn under two different mentors that are probably the best in their field. One was in LTL, the other one was in full truckload, and learning underneath them has definitely gotten me to where I am today. They were incredible teachers. The amount of knowledge that I was able to gain over the last 14 years has just been incredible. I mean, I still talk to them today. I'm just so blessed to have those guys that helped me get to where I am.
Yeah,
But
and
that's so great to hear, because I know there's a lot of drivers out there that would like to become an owner operator, would like to become a company owner and have their own fleet eventually down the road. But unfortunately, with a lot of them, I hear, oh, once I'm an owner operator, I know it all.
Yeah.
and it's like, no, there's so much more to learn in each and every step as you go, to absorb and learn. And you've said it right on your earlier. Find a mentor, work with a mentor. It's going to make you a better driver, better owner operator, better company operator, so
Mhm.
that you can work with top notch operations like ATS.
Yeah, absolutely. And like to your point, we're never going to know it all. I mean, I'm still learning, looking to learn more,
Sure.
going to conferences and seminars, and just there's so much information out there now,
Mm.
available at your fingertips. I mean,
Yep.
it's a constant, you should be constantly learning.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Hey, there's one nugget right there for our viewers and listeners. If you're not constantly learning something every day, it's, in my opinion, was a wasted day. Colby
Yeah.
from ATS, thanks so much for coming on to the Trucking Risk and Insurance Podcast. And a huge thanks to Colby for coming onto the show and sharing with us his experiences. All right, that's it for this week. Please click the like button, the comment, leave us a comment. Tell John and I what the hell you liked, didn't like. Tell us to go to jump in the lake. That's it for the Trucking Risk and Insurance Podcast this week. See you next week.